If you're an emerging leader and you want to be more visible and influential in your company or industry, then you need a leadership brand. This video will tell you how you can start creating one in 2020. So when you're aiming for a leadership position, you need to package and market yourself as a leader. And you do this by building a leadership brand. Now, a leadership brand is a little different than a personal brand. You've probably heard the term personal branding. It's quite common, and a lot of people do use it in business. But the reason I prefer to use the term leadership branding is because I am talking to leaders. I'm talking to people who want to advance at a high level in their career and they want to be recognized as a leader. So it requires a little more focused, strategic branding than personal branding does. So that's why I prefer to use the term leadership branding. So when you're looking at building your leadership brand, you need to think about the touch points that people are going to come in contact with. So these are touch points that people are going to gather clues or information about who you are and what you stand for. So they could be touch points, for example, your outfit is one touch point. Your online presence is another touch point. Your communication is another touch point. Your body language is another touch point. All of these areas or all of these touch points are ways in which you communicate your leadership brand, and they're ways in which the other person is going to gather clues or information about who you are and what you stand for. And from that information, they will be able to create an image of you, an image of whether you are a leader or not. So the thing with touch points though, and that's what a lot of people don't understand, is that you have complete control over these touch points. Every one of them. So you have complete control over these touch points, over your outfit, your body language, your communication. You can make it say exactly what you want it to say so the other person can get the exact impression you want them to have of you. So it's in your best interest to take control of these touch points so you can actually control your leadership brand and control how you come across to others. So the first step in developing your leadership brand is to actually define it. You need to know how you want to come across. You need to know how you want others to see you. This is the very first step. Before you look at any of the touch points, you need to know, be clear on your leadership brand and what it's going to say about you. Now, when I do this with my coaching clients, it's usually a 90-minute coaching session. And it involves a lot of questions that I ask them about their values, their beliefs, their goals, their competition, and then we work out from that how they want to come across to others, what values do they want to convey to other people as a leader, and how they want other people to see them. So it's quite a lengthy process when I do this with my coaching clients, but you can absolutely do it on a smaller level, and I'm going to share with you an activity right now. Now, this activity is something that I actually share with people who attend my workshops. So I conduct a lot of in-person workshops around leadership presence or leadership communication, and one of the activities that I want to share with you that you can absolutely do on your own at home right now is to think of 3 words that you want other people to describe you with. So 3 adjectives, 3 descriptive words. How do you want other people to describe you? And I usually give people a situation so that it's a little bit more in context, this activity. So imagine you are going to a networking event and you have a colleague next to you who's going to introduce you to an important decision maker, somebody you really want to meet. How do you want that person to introduce you? What do you want them to say about you? And choose 3 words of how you want to be introduced. Now, when I do this activity in my workshops, quite often, a lot of the answers that I hear people say is, I want to be seen as more authoritative. I want to be seen as more confident. I want to be seen as friendly or approachable. It will be different for everybody watching this video, as it is different for everybody attending my workshop. So you need to decide how you want to come across, what words you want other people to describe you with. How do you want to be described and seen as a leader? So come up with those 3 words, and that will give you some direction on your leadership brand and a great starting point to then go on and work on all of the other touch points, which we're going to talk about now in this video. And the second step to defining your leadership brand for 2020 is to review your outfit. A lot of you watching this might be thinking, well, isn't it shallow if people judge me by what I wear. I don't want people to judge me by what I wear. I want to be recognized by my intelligence and by my contribution. And I absolutely agree with you. It is really important that people do see your intelligence and do see your contribution. But the reality is the very first thing that people see will be your outfit, and then it will be your body language. It's a psychology of how first impressions are formed. And if you want to learn a bit about the psychology of how first impressions are formed, then I have a video. It's a really old video on this YouTube channel, but I do have another video that has quite a number of views about first impressions, about the psychology of first impressions and how they're formed. So I'll link to that video below in the description for you. But you absolutely need to think about your outfit as something that you cannot neglect. You know, it is a touch point that people are going to be drawing clues and information from about who you are, how educated you are, what level you're at, you know, whether you're leadership material or not. They're going to be getting that information from your outfit, whether you like it or not. So you basically have two choices. You can neglect this important touch point and let whatever people want to decide about you, leave it in their hands, or you can decide to take charge of this touch point and control it, which you absolutely have ability to do. You can control it and help people decide what you want them to think about you. Help guide their first impression that they make about you. And the key here is to think about your leadership brand. So go back to the previous step that you just did, you know, the 3 words that you put down to define your leadership brand. What did you put there? If it was creative and friendly, then you want your outfit to make you look creative and friendly. If it was confident and authoritative, then you need your outfit to make you look confident and authoritative. And the third step to building your leadership brand is to review your body language. So I've already mentioned that's an important touch point for your leadership brand, your body language and your nonverbal communication. Now, your body language plays an incredibly important role in the overall impression others are going to form about you. And, you know, there's been a lot of studies done about body language, and some studies have actually shown that it's actually more important than your verbal communication. So think about every time you communicate to somebody, the messages you send come from 2 channels. One channel is your verbal communication and the other channel is your non-verbal communication. So every time you communicate, your messages will be sent from both channels, and the other person will be reading your messages from those both channels as well. So you need to make sure that your body language and your non-verbal communication sends the exact messages that you want to send to the other person. Now, if you at the beginning of this activity, the 3 words you chose, if you said that you want to be seen as more confident, then you need to proactively use body language that makes you convey that impression to other people. Because remember, your body language is an important touch point. Now, if confidence and power is something that you want to project as a leader, because perhaps you're a little bit more on the passive side, or you're a little bit shy and you want to, change that, you want people to see you as more confident, then I have a brilliant article on my website that you will absolutely get a lot of benefit and value from. It's called Powerful Confident Body Language for Women. And I know what you're thinking, it's written for women. Okay, it is written for women, but I've had a lot of men read this article and get a lot of tips and value from this article as well. So don't discount it. Make sure you go to my website, Executive Impressions, and check it out. I'll link to it in the description below as well. And I want to mention that one of my Udemy courses, which has quite a number of students in it, it's called Powerful Confident Body Language for Women. So it's a course on Udemy which you can take and go through a 1-hour course, and that will teach you a lot of strategies and postures that you can use to project more confidence with your body language. And as I mentioned with the article, it's not only for women. I've had a lot of men take that course as well and get a lot of value from it too. But going back to, the issue about body language, it's a very important touch point that you absolutely need to consider and think about, because it does play a huge role and count for a lot of the messages that people read from you when you're communicating and when you're interacting with other people. So it's a really important part of developing your leadership brand. So don't discount it. And the fourth area I want you to look at is your verbal communication. So this is another really important touch point for your overall leadership brand. brand. So your verbal communication, although I said studies have found that it doesn't play as a huge role in your overall communication as what your non-verbal communication does, it is still a very important role. And what is really important here is that both your verbal communication and your non-verbal communication, they need to be in sync. They need to be communicating the same message. Remember what I said earlier about how every message you send, everything you communicate comes from two channels, your verbal channel and your non-verbal channel. Now, if they are not in sync, if your non-verbal channel is going in one direction and your verbal channel is going in another direction, what is your listener going to think? They're going to be very confused. Which one do I believe? Do I believe their body language, which says they're confident and authoritative, or do I believe their verbal communication, which says they are passive and unsure about themselves? Which one do I believe? So both channels need to be in sync. They need to be going in the same direction and they need to be communicating the same message. Because think about it, if you are in a business meeting, let's take a workplace context here. Go to a business meeting. You are using confident body language because you read the article I mentioned before, or you've done my Udemy course. So you're using confident body language. Great. People see you, they're going to think, that's a confident person. But as soon as you open your mouth, if you're using hesitant language, if you're unsure of yourself, if you don't have bold opinions, if you're asking people questions or, trying to gain approval from other people for your opinions, rather than boldly stating your opinions, what are they going to think? They're not going to know what to believe. Your body language, which says you're confident, or your verbal communication. They're going to be very confused. So when you're creating your leadership brand, consistency is incredibly important. It strengthens, it amplifies your leadership brand. It makes it stronger. Well, we have covered a lot in this video. So we started by defining your leadership brand with the 3 words. Then we moved on to the touch points that are important. So we started with your outfit for those touch points. Then we moved on to your body language and your nonverbal communication. And then we looked at your verbal communication. Now, what I want you to walk away with, the key message I want you to walk away with here is that all of these touch points need to be in sync. They need to be communicating the exact same message. Otherwise, the other person you are interacting with will be very confused as to what your leadership brand is, as to who you are, as to what you stand for, as to what your values are. So make sure all of the touch points that we worked on in this video are in sync. Not everybody puts in this much work into their leadership development, and not everybody delves this deep as you have by watching this video. But if you put in the work that you learn in this video and all the other videos that I'm going to release, then you'll be one step ahead of everyone else. It will help you stand out, it will help you differentiate yourself and get one step closer to your leadership goals. Now, that is the end of this video. If you liked what I shared in this video, then please subscribe by hitting the button down below. You'll be notified every time I release a new video, so you won't miss out. And remember that I have the Leadership Pod over on Apple Podcasts. So this is a podcast around every topic that I cover in these videos, but it's longer than what these videos are. So you get more in-depth understanding and in-depth learning if you head over to the podcast. So if you want to listen to that podcast, head over to Apple Podcasts. You'll find it there. It's called the Leadership Pod. If you like this video, please hit the like button below. It will help more people to know about this video and get the advice that they need as well if they're an emerging leader. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next week.